Hi, everyone. Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's my privilege today to introduce you to artist Robert McAfee. How you doing, Robert?
I'm great, Teresa. How are you today?
I'm so glad you're here. It's so nice to see you. I reached out
Pleasure.
because I saw so much of your art and your talent, and
Mhm.
I just couldn't wait to show the viewers. So let's start at the beginning, Robert. How'd you get into art? How did it all start for you?
I'm 63 years old, and I like to say 63 years ago is when it all started.
Okay.
I am born into a family of artists.
Okay.
One of my mother's oldest brothers is Jack Reed, who was one of Canada's foremost watercolorists.
Okay.
He's an Order of Canada recipient and a whole bunch of other accolades. And I grew up in his shadow, and I wanted to be that guy. And all through my school years, I painted watercolor, and he was my hero. Other people had rock stars. I had Jack Reed in my life.
That is a great journey. So first, what is nice is that you already have talent, but you have encouragement from a family member and someone who's already done it. So they're a mentor, but that doesn't make the journey any easier. It just means probably maybe a little harder because now you're trying to reach up to your family, but also as the journey goes, you might have been, I'm just guessing, a little judgmental on yourself because now you really want to achieve that. So let's talk about the journey of, was there any adversity while you were going along? What were you doing, Robert?
The adversity for any artist to begin with, no matter what field they're in, no matter how easy or hard their life may be elsewhere, the adversity for every artist is just accepting their self as an artist, being able to recognize that, yes, this is who I am, this is what I love to do, and this is my path going forward. That is something I think every artist struggles with. And 63 years later, I'm still plowing my way through that forest, shall we say. But I was not an academic at all going through school. So if we want to go way back to the very beginning, I struggled through school quite a bit.
Okay.
I like to say that my physical body was in the classroom, but my mind was
Okay.
somewhere else. And part of the problem was that I had seen from a very young age, I had seen the success of my uncle Jack Reed as a watercolor artist. And I just wanted to be that guy, and it really enveloped my whole head. I drew, I sketched, I painted like a little child does. But from a very early age, I was exposed to what he did and his big studio and his beautiful paintings.
Okay.
And I knew I wanted to be that guy. So I like to say that was a blessing and not a curse, but it was a distraction, shall we say, because it got in the way of everything else that I did in my life.
That's okay though, right? Now, I know we talked a bit before the show that you were with TD prior to this. Talk about your, I know that artistry, we all, these creative things we have to do on the side until we're ready, or if we have to be gifted enough to earn money immediately. So we all have to grow our talent. So let's start with, let's go to where you were working and how you transitioned to becoming a full-time artist.
The path that led me into TD Bank Financial Group is a story all by itself. We leave that for another day. But
Oh, okay.
but when I'd gone through a few different career changes in my life, I had a sign company at one time, sign painting, sign lettering on trucks and vans. I morphed from that into photography for a couple of years. So I did the proverbial weddings and portraits and all that sort of thing. And because of the photography, I eventually started working for Black's Photography. Some of us who are
Oh,
old
okay.
enough to remember
I
that
remember.
huge corporation. Now no longer. But I spent probably 16 years with Black's Photography and moved up through the ranks and became management and what have you. And then there came a point when I transitioned from Black's into TD Bank. Now, that was because I knew somebody who said, listen, there's a job available and you've got management skills. Come on over. And that didn't happen quite as simply as that. But suffice it for the moment, we'll say one day I found myself working in the commercial union tower. I don't know what they call it now, our Canadian Pacific Tower, but in the TD Towers in Toronto. And all of a sudden I was wearing ties and suits and working amongst the bankers. And that was just an amazing thing, but completely unlikely for this non-academic artist that I was.
Okay. What I like is that you took this journey and you had a few things, careers in life. And I always tell people when you have all of these sort of tools for your toolbox, you get to use them later. So
Yeah,
let's talk about now you're with TD, doing have a great job, and now you're able. Now I know you have your art. That keeps going. That's a constant, right, through it all.
correct.
So how did you get to go from there to? Are you retired now?
Not
From
retired.
you're
No, full-time artist.
You are. Let's look at a couple of your pieces there. You had at least one in front of me. Let's look at that.
I have this large one right behind here
Beautiful.
that's
Pull it
just
down if you can.
sitting out here drying.
Oh,
Well,
perfect.
it's a 6 foot long painting, so it's a little large to handle.
That's okay. I can see
But
from here. It's beautiful. It
thank
looks like
you.
our wonderful lakes up here with the beautiful pine trees and so forth.
Yeah, yeah, correct. It's just a recent painting. It was just finished about a week or so ago. And then I do quite a few smaller ones, like here's a smaller one here like that.
Oh, I love that.
And these are all Ontario, rural Ontario, far north. And
Oh,
I spend a great deal of my time traveling on the road and hiking through forests and canoeing and what have you, and getting the real material.
so you're out in the now I know our wonderful forests, at least up as far,
Yeah,
let's say Algonquin Park, Georgian
yeah,
Bay, all of those beautiful areas.
yeah.
So when you go up there, so what are you looking for? What do you, because we have trees everywhere, but what are you looking
Yeah.
for in the landscape?
To give you a little bit of a backdrop to that,
Sure.
my father's from New Brunswick and he came to Toronto in the late 50s
Oh, okay.
and as a teenager. And when he got married and all of us kids came along, six of us,
Six, okay.
and he was from 11 and my mother was from 12.
That
Big
happened quite a bit then.
back in those days. But dad always packed us up into the van and took us way down to New Brunswick every summer to visit his family, to visit the farmers that were his brothers and sisters. And along those trips, we would always meander. So we would go through Northern Ontario, we would go through Quebec, we would go through New Brunswick, and then we'd wander over to Nova Scotia. So we saw a lot of what I like to say Canada's most beautiful nature. It became a part of my bloodstream. I appreciated being there and experiencing the vibe of the water and the sunsets and the beautiful mornings on lakes. And we're all Canadian here and we all understand how that feels because we're all used to being in those places, right?
Oh yeah, I'm fondly remembering we had a cottage, my husband and I, my husband who's passed away now, but we had a beautiful family cottage up between Bancroft and Halliburton. And
Mm-hmm.
it was on a wonderful lake up there, a chain of lakes. So we would go through quite a bit of them, Batiste Lake and Elephant Lake and all of them on the ride up there. And we had just such a beautiful setting where we were, and I appreciated it. And Algonquin Park was actually very close to there. So
Yeah.
we all know Algonquin Park in
Yeah.
Canada. What amazing, beautiful scenery. Canada is so blessed, and we're blessed to be able to have that kind of a beautiful ambiance for, and you for your artistry. That's beautiful. You're
Oh,
capturing.
we are so blessed, and we don't really appreciate how blessed we are. In if you just simply cross the border into the States, you'll notice that even in the most rural parts, it's never very far between one house to the next house or one community to the next community. But in Canada, most of our population's right along the border, so
It
you don't
is.
need to go more than a couple of hours north to become completely lost.
It's true.
And the way all of this tied together with my art was when I worked at TD Bank, I longed to be out there. Just like when I was in school, my body was in the classroom, but my mind was out there. When I worked
Yeah.
for TD Bank, it was the same thing. I did the work, I was functional, but I couldn't wait till the weekends to take off and get away from the city. And so I would wander. And I remember the first trip I took to Algonquin on my own. I left, I think I called in sick that day.
We won't tell.
We won't tell,
We
nobody's
won't tell.
listening. And yeah, and I think that because I felt sick, I needed to immerse myself in nature.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
I understand. That's where I
yeah,
go when I get sick for the day. I go up north.
yeah. So I think I left before the sun rose, and it's my favorite time of the day. I love watching the sun come up. But I left my home in at the time was Whitby. I'm in Oshawa now, but I left at 4 o'clock in the morning or so, and I arrived at Algonquin 3 hours later. And just as the sun was coming up over Lake Opiongo, I stepped down to the water, and my foot stepped on a twig that snapped, and I could hear it echo out across the
Oh,
lake.
that's wonderful.
And I just stood there and thought to myself, somehow, some way, I've got to get into this with my art and make it meaningful and make it rich and make it significant. And to that, I'll add that when I did return back to work, I kept thinking to myself, all of us guys and girls in our cubicles on the 29th floor in the middle of the banking district, I looked at their cubicles and I thought to myself, I would love to be able to provide little portals,
Yeah.
little windows for them to hang on their
Oh, that's perfect.
cubicles to escape for a moment, just for this brief little window of time. And so that became the motivation to
Sure.
wanting to paint more and more, to be able to provide for anyone who wants it a place or a way to leave where they are right now, even just for a moment, and look at that painting and let it transport them to that place. And that became really a theme to what I was doing because through the years of painting, I would hear from people how shut-ins, seniors who can't get out and go to where they used to go,
Oh,
uh, or
wonderful.
they've moved, expats who have moved to other parts of the world
Sure.
who miss Ontario and Canada for that matter. So the paintings became portals
Oh, nice.
for lots of people. Now, ask me about how I left TD Bank. It was is an
Go
amazing
ahead.
story.
I love it. Go ahead. We have all the time in the world for you, Robert.
So you're a banker and you're in your cubicle and you're doing your job and you're hobnobbing with all of the other bankers and life is good. And at home, the wife and children and two cars in the driveway and the white picket fence and all that sort of thing. Don't rock the boat. Don't mess it up.
I
just
understand.
just stay the course. Everything's good, Robert. But there's a thing that came along called the internet.
Yep, I get
And there were websites that artists could have. All
it.
of a sudden, ever so simple, mind you, a little template drag and drop website that you just simply upload a picture to and drag it into the image.
Right.
And you can type your name, robertmcafee.com, why not? And so I did that. And I started to find right away that there was an uptake for my art because there wasn't that many websites around and there weren't that many artists who had websites in those days.
True.
So when you're first through the gate, it was an opportunity like no other. Whereas today, there are millions of websites to choose from. But there was a time when, so you have to know that I painted watercolor up until that time, and watercolor is a very precise medium where you have to get it right or else scrap the paper and start all over again.
Oh, okay.
And even though I had a lot of ambition in art, my watercolor was just never as successful as I would like it to have been. I couldn't make a living doing it, and so it was just always a hobby. But there came a point when I just really got very discouraged about it, and I completely quit painting, and I had been painting for all of my life up until that point.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't call it so much a depression period, but I would say a real discouragement period because anybody who's an artist at heart just wants to do it.
Yeah,
And if you can't do it or you decide not to do it, you've probably reached that place through some real adversity.
sure.
So I entered this 2 year period, 2007 through almost the beginning of 2009, where I didn't paint a single thing. And I remember even saying to my wife at the time, honey, if you like, you can just pick up some IKEA pictures and put them on the wall. For an artist to
Oh,
say that,
yeah. Oh my
that's a,
goodness.
that's a pretty low point.
Yeah.
But one day, one of my aunts, a younger sister to Jack Reed, the artist, she came over one day and she brought this shoebox, and it was covered in soot and ashes, and it had been owned by an artist who was a heavy smoker. He was
Oh,
a pipe smoker, a cigar smoker, and it just reeked of old stale smoke. And she opened it up and she said he was an artist and he passed and he wanted these paints and brushes to go to somebody who would use them.
okay.
And I said to her, I said, Rosalind, they're oil paints. I'm a watercolorist. And by the way, Teresa, that's how artists are. The watercolorists, they don't do that other thing over there
Okay.
called oil. And oil
Okay.
painters, they don't do that thing over there.
Got it.
Or at least they try not to. But nevertheless, that's just an inside joke with artists. But I took the box from her graciously. And I said to her, I'm not sure that I will ever use this, but I'll take it and see what happens. A few months went by. I was sure I would never touch it, but it kept looking at me, this box. It kept saying, Robert, open me up.
Hello, Robert. I'm still
Let's
here.
get on. This is the whole next chapter of your life, believe it or not.
I love it.
And I remember once I pulled it open and I took everything in the contents and I dumped it all. These were paint tubes, aluminum tubes,
Sure. Yeah.
brushes.
Yeah.
I dumped them into the kitchen sink and I poured dish soap all over everything and I cleaned everything and threw the box away. And then I said to myself, I got paint, I got brushes, I need some canvas. I need to make something out of this. I need to respect this gentleman
Yeah.
who saw fit to pass this to somebody. I need to do it justice. So I went to Curry's in Whitby at the time. It's not there anymore, but there was a great sales lady there who directed me to the canvas and she sold me a little 6 inch by 6 inch canvas, tiny little one like this.
Oh, okay.
And she said, just take this home and just try a little of your oil paints and just see how it feels. If you like it, you can come back for bigger canvases. That first day of painting with oil paints and feeling the viscosity of the paint and feeling the movement and the liquidity of it. And unlike watercolor, being able to come back to it the day after and the day after and continue to develop it and to build it up.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's something I learned. Okay.
Well, it the rest is history after that, let's just
Sure.
say. And I just started painting like crazy every night coming home, and I had gotten out of the funk and started to paint like crazy. And then the real transition happened when this friend of mine at TD Bank, one of the guys from the tech department, and I don't have my I'm talking to you through my cell phone right now, but at the time we used Blackberries, right?
Yes, I remember those. Sure.
And Blackberries had a little flashing red light on them, right?
Yes, they
And
did.
that's why they called them crackberries, right? Because every time you saw that light flashing, you had to check your messages.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So there was a guy at the bank in the tech department who said to me, he says, Robert, there's this new website now and it's called Kijiji. Okay. This is 2009, Teresa.
Yeah,
So this
sure.
is
You're dating
way,
everything.
way back in the dinosaur ages of
Right.
internet and stuff. So there was this new little website called Kijiji, and he says people put stuff up there for sale. It's kind of like a buy and sell bargain hunters magazine. He says, but it's internet. And he said you should take a picture of one of your little paintings. He said just use your bank issued BlackBerry. Now, Teresa, those Blackberries were like 1.2 megapixels.
Yeah.
Okay,
They weren't
today's
meant for
black
that. Yeah,
today's phones are like 50 megapixels.
exactly. They weren't meant for that. Yeah.
No, they weren't sharp. The pictures were dull. They were
Yeah.
foggy. But I said, I'll do it. I took the picture. I uploaded it to Kijiji. And that same night, the little red light started to flash.
Oh, wow.
And it was a person, I live in Whitby at the time. It was a person from Sarnia. She loved the painting. She had to have it. And she sent her assistant the next day from Sarnia all the way to Whitby,
Oh my
a-
goodness.
arriving around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, paid cash for the painting, took it back in the car, and drove back again to Sarnia. That's a 9 to 10 hour day of driving.
Oh,
for
Robert.
that one little painting.
Wow, good for
And
you.
that was when I realized, yeah, there's something about this.
Sure.
There's something that's working here. And I think that I need to pursue this. The year that followed were 90 paintings sold through that Kijiji website.
Congratulations.
As the paintings sold, people were directed over to robertmcafee.com where they could see the bigger paintings that were for sale, and that led to larger sales. And then there came a time when I became so busy with painting every night, weekends, and I got kids at home too, and I got family
Yeah.
responsibilities, and I take those very seriously. But I had to. I remember it really came down to a prayer one day. I'm very religious, and I believe that God directs our paths. And I just prayed and I said, God, I don't want to leave my secure job at TD Bank, but I love painting. I do. And I know that I've always dreamed, and you know that I've always dreamed to do this. Here's the opportunity. But so I said, Lord, if you want me to leave TD Bank, you've got to make it happen in a way that I had no choice whatsoever. I'm
Oh,
not going to, I'm not voluntarily doing it. I'm not resigning. Nope, it has to happen
right.
beyond my control. 2 weeks later, the HR department came up to our 29th floor. They came in their black suits
Oh my
and
goodness.
they came with their envelopes in their hands. All 75 of us on the floor were being downsized, outsourced, whatever.
Oh
Our
my
job,
goodness.
our jobs were done. Now, Teresa, I
I
want to
guess the
tell,
message was clear.
I want to tell you something. In those first 20 seconds, I felt the same shock that everyone else in the room felt. You got to know that in that room, there were 50 somethings
Yeah,
who weren't quite ready for retirement.
I get
You know
that.
what I mean?
Yeah.
There were single moms, there were grandparents looking after grandchildren. There was situations that weren't ready for that news, and they were crying. And there
Yeah.
were people that were begging the HR reps, please, can you spare my job? So I felt all of that because I had 3 kids at home and I had the house and cars and everything and everybody else today. I was burdened with responsibility.
Sure.
But after about the 21st or 22nd second, it occurred to me,
Hmm,
I'm a full-time artist now.
you got it.
And I went home that day and I said it to my wife. I told her what had happened. And she, to my pleasure and to my great pride, she supported the move completely. She knew about all the responsibilities, but she also knew that paintings were selling. She knew that I was aggressively moving in that direction.
Yeah.
It was a natural transition. So that happened on a Friday, and on a Monday morning, I got up like I do every day when I go to the bank. I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, got the kids off to school, and I went for coffee at the local diner like I always do. And then instead of going to the GO station, I came home. I went into my basement and I set up to paint. And I take my breaks and I take my lunch and I take my afternoon break, just
Oh,
like I worked at
great.
the bank. And I became an artist full time in 2009, and I still am to this day.
I love this story. Do you know what? This is what Success Diaries is all about. I formed this show to bring people stories just like you. That warms my heart completely. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing that. I
Most
love
welcome.
it. You
It's
must
been
have thought at
an,
that moment, I have the answer. I know what I'm doing. My path is fixed. What a wonderful, peaceful feeling you must have had.
yeah, peaceful is absolutely right.
Right?
When you know it's the right thing, there are times in your life when you enter into a venture, you're not sure if it's the right thing, or you maybe haven't covered all the bases. I hadn't really covered all the bases, but I knew in my heart that I was doing the thing that I loved more than anything. And I had already put the work ethic into it. I had already
Yeah.
sold paintings and started doing outdoor art shows. I want to tell you a quick little snippet that really asserted my path forward was in that first week of being a full-time artist, let go from the bank, but
Yeah.
full-time artist. I got one of those red light flashings and on my new BlackBerry phone, and it was a guy who basically said, "Listen, I'd love these two paintings that you advertised. Can you deliver them to our house?" And so I said, "Okay." I brought them down. They were down on the east side of Toronto, and I bring them in and I set them down on the floor. And he writes the check and gives me the check, and then he says to me, he says, "By the way," he says, "my name is so and I'm the COO at the CN Tower in Toronto."
Oh,
And
wow.
he said, "We have monthly board meetings where we have board members from the banks, from the insurance companies, and we all get together at the top of the tower." And he says, "We've been considering what to do with the interior of the CN Tower, the dining room, the place, the rotating restaurant."
I know it. Yes.
And he says, "We want to move in a real Canadiana kind of a theme. And we've been looking at your art." And he says, "I think that your art would be perfect for our restaurant."
Oh my gosh.
And I said, "Just what, a couple of pieces? Are you thinking of a number of artists?" He says, "No, we would like to exclusively have your art all the way around the entire restaurant on the interior wall." So when you're in the restaurant, you're looking outside, of course, as you're rotating,
Absolutely.
but there's an interior wall that's empty. And so they put McAfee art all the way around that wall. He says, "If you're interested." And to that, I said, "Would you like me to kiss your left foot or your right foot?"
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, Robert, what a gift you have.
So that gave 7 years as the exclusive solo show artist for the CN Tower.
Oh,
And that was seen, my art was seen through that medium, through kings and queens and presidents and rock stars and movie stars. And everybody goes to the CN Tower. Everybody goes to eat at some point or another. And so that catapulted things even farther.
Oh, I am just so impressed. Honestly, I did not know that part of your story. That is amazing.
Uh,
Truly. What a wonderful gift, first of all, you have. I've seen some of your art. I love it. I want to tell you, first of all, you're so very talented. I love your stories. You are,
uh,
boy, you are the chosen one. But let me tell you also, Robert, I'm also from Oshawa, and I want
mhm.
you to know something else. I love the city of Oshawa. I have been
Yeah.
here forever. My husband was a counselor here. You may have known that. And there's even a library named after him. So that's how important Oshawa is to me. I raised my children here and love it. The point I'm making is you have been taking pictures in Oshawa and posting them. And I'll tell you what, they're beautiful. You've been
Uh,
adding that to it. And it really touched my heart. And I wanted you to know that, as you said, you're a spiritual person. I thought about my husband. I thought he would be so proud because he loved Oshawa so much. And he would have just thought, wow, Robert, thank you for giving us the sophistication that Oshawa is. So I wanted to point that out. And I'm hoping you'll send me some of those pictures as well, so we can put them out and I'll do a little promo about them because they really are lovely.
And as you can probably tell, I live close to the Oshawa Airport, and we've got airplanes going over.
You are, yeah,
The photography, as I mentioned earlier, goes back to my teenage years. And in those days, there was no digital, there was no autofocus. It was all manual, everything.
that's right.
And I loved it very much. But when digital came along, I did acquire digital photography equipment, but it didn't really excite me at all. It was just a means to an end. I used it to take pictures of my paintings to put on the website, and but I didn't really have a passion for photography through those digital years. But then a couple of years ago, I saw,
Oh, I
there you
love it.
go.
Yeah,
This is one of those, you flip up the top and you look through, you see that,
I love it. It's
and
perfect.
you focus on the side, and there's the lens that takes the pictures, and there's the lens that you look through. And I saw this documentary about Vivian Meyer.
Oh, of course.
She, up until about 10 years ago, no one had a clue who she was, but all of a sudden, somebody discovered her abandoned storage locker with over 200,000 negatives, undeveloped films. And she used exactly this type of camera, Rolleiflex cameras. And it's essential because that camera was capable of shooting the most, like to say, milky, beautiful, glamorous black and white pictures. And this camera is 100 years old. It works as well today as the day that it was brand spanking new.
Amazing.
It's a real, but I loved it, and I loved the idea that I could maybe get back into learning how to develop film again, get back into developing, making my own enlargements in a darkroom. Oh my God, all that equipment, here we go again. But it was really, as a parallel to my painting, it was another creative outlet. It was another way to express what I do. And why Oshawa? Why take photographs of Oshawa? Teresa, we who live in Oshawa, we're very proud of it.
We are.
But we also know that outside of Oshawa, there is a somewhat of a stigma that people attach to it. And so, having grew up in High Park, grew up in Rexdale in Toronto, and then coming over to Whitby for 25 years, and then to Oshawa, I had a real sense of how Oshawa looked to the outside Ontario. I wanted to change that. I wanted to do something to elevate what's great about this town. Enter beautiful pictures.
I love it.
And
You
so
caught my eye, Robert. I'll tell you what, the people of Oshawa are loving it, honestly, because
wow.
we have a tremendously wonderful city. I'm actually originally from East York myself when I was
Oh,
young. So
yeah,
Oshawa now, and John was from out west, so from Winnipeg. So we both arrived here at younger ages with our families. But I raised my children here. It's a beautiful city. And when I saw your pictures, I thought, Robert has a pulse on this, but I knew you were already an artist. So I was
right.
thrilled about your work. You had that. I'm very grateful that you came on today and told us that story. And the element of Oshawa raising it, I think that's where really the heart of it is. And I was thrilled that you were doing that. So thank you for doing that for us.
It's a pleasure because listen, for every single soul, every single face, every single person that you pass on the street, wealthy or not, greatly blessed or in unfortunate circumstances, whatever they all have a story.
They do.
You would know that as an interviewer, every person has a story. And if you just give them 5 minutes to tell you that story, sometimes you'll just be blown away at the things. And I'm not talking necessarily just drama or tragedies. I'm talking amazing stories that people have in their history that you don't know. You pass them on the street and you don't know. So when I stop somebody and I say, hey, listen, I love your hat or I love your whatever it is, and I take a few pictures, can I take a picture? A conversation always
Yeah,
ensues. And it just never fails to floor me where people come from and how they ended up where they are, either good or bad.
sure.
It's like this guy or this woman is a book waiting to be written. And so each of the photographs that you see on downtown Oshawa or Instagram or what have you, they are they are featuring people who have really delicious stories, any one of them that could become the subject of a major novel. And again, like I said before, I want people to not focus on the parts of Oshawa that I like to say are yet to be developed, that are in transition,
Yeah,
because there's great things coming within the next 5 years of Oshawa, let me tell you. There's some awesome buildings. There's already some awesome buildings, but there's some even more awesome buildings coming, and the infrastructure around them, the businesses that they'll attract, and the way that they'll affect the community is just completely in line with a great future for this city. But in the meantime, somebody has got to tell the stories, and you're doing it and I'm doing it. And God bless these little tools that we have, right?
Robert, you are right. So we got to collaborate today. So there's a reason for that. So we get to bring your message forward. And I certainly am not an artist. I love to do what I'm doing, and you're loving to do what you do. And together
Yeah,
we're able to
yeah.
bring that forward. And we both have a love of, I just love your artwork, and we have both have a love of Oshawa. So that all just came together perfectly. Robert, I can't thank you enough for your time today. I am so grateful. I wondered if you'd come back and do another episode down the road with us.
Absolutely. I love to talk about this great city. And I love to talk about everything. So as
Absolutely. You're a wonderful person and you express your stories. You told us your legacy, and I'm very grateful you came on today, Robert.
it's my pleasure and my privilege. Thank you so much for your interest in taking the time.
Thank you.
And the airplanes.
And the airplanes, which is part of Oshawa, and that has a story of its own. So everyone, this is Robert McAfee. I'm going to make sure all of his information is here in the show notes, and you'll make sure you get all of that to us, Robert. We'll make sure the best place that they can reach you, that we'll have that on here. Make sure I get all of that. So go ahead over to Robert's social media, reach out. He's got some amazing artwork. If you haven't already seen it, you probably have, but if you haven't, take a look at it. It's wonderful. And all your wonderful stories of Oshawa. I can't wait to see more artwork with that. To everyone else, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. Do subscribe to my channel. I truly appreciate that. I hope you're all having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Bye-bye.